After years of living in virtual isolation, with only solitude and sadness for companions, Alice rises early on this particular day and nervously prepares herself with great care as she anticipates her new employment. Meanwhile, on this Monday morning, just like any other morning, Manfred, another lonely soul, arrives early for work. He sits at his desk with the grim prospect of another long day ahead, when suddenly in the doorway appears the first new face he has seen there. Alice. With the arrival of Alice comes a breath of fresh air. In no time at all she begins to settle in, and Manfred does all he can to explain the various systems and procedures of the job. Manfred's eagerness to please Alice is almost without limit. Alice, she too having known the misery of loneliness, soon responds to Manfred's good nature and gentleness, sometimes to his complete bewilderment. One afternoon, having overheard Alice mention her favourite bonbon during a telephone conversation, Manfred returns from lunch with a small box which he presents to her at tea break. Alice, having rarely known such kindness, takes Manfred's hand and kisses it tenderly. From this point on, everything will change. His perceptions altered and driven by lust, Manfred is engulfed with a nameless yearning he has never before experienced. He now realises that the whole point to his being has become Alice. Before long his loneliness turns to desperation, which in turn leads to carelessness. Intoxicated by desire, Manfred makes it his mission to possess everything he believes to be Alice. In no time at all, soft smiles turn into leering winks. Respectful courteousness turns into arrogant disregard. The man with whom Alice had once felt safe and valued has become a threat to her well-being. Despite being a victim of his unwanted attention, Alice at times finds herself missing the old Manfred. But like other men she had known, he has become her abuser, overlooking her golden worth. At weekends when not with Alice, Manfred slips into a world of total fantasy. Enhanced by his late mother's homemade cough remedy, he sits for hours imagining a perfect life with Alice. But what may be fantasy for Manfred has become nightmarish reality for Alice. senses her every move being observed, her every sentence combed for hidden meaning, every expression intercepted and conveniently misunderstood. Unable to endure his overbearing behaviour any longer, Alice makes up her mind to challenge her tormentor. One Friday afternoon, just before the completion of the week's work, she confronts Manfred with a direct question. What will it take for this madness to end? This madness? What was it he wanted so desperately that he would risk their friendship and her sanity? You, just you, he replied. Alice went on. Me? You don't know me, Manfred. You only see my physical costume. Manfred tried to interrupt. You don't understand at all, do you? She said. But you're so beautiful. I want you to be mine. Mine for all time, he replied. Well, you can have for all time the juices of my beauty, said Alice. Visit me in 1 week's time. Excited at the prospect awaiting him, Manfred sets about the week's business. Staring at her empty desk, he is reminded of the time before Alice entered his drab existence. And though about to be granted his most cherished desire, he feels a sense of unease which he cannot dispel. Alice, determined that Manfred should understand the error of his behaviour, prepares for her encounter by bringing in the necessary equipment needed to ensure that Manfred learns a most important lesson. After what seems like an eternity, Manfred's conquest seems almost within his grasp. Having prepared himself for this liaison, he presents himself at Alice's door. Follow me, Manfred. Alice explained that everything which constituted her beauty, which Manfred had so desperately craved, was stored in the jars, his for all time. Why have you done this? Manfred asked. To teach you that a love based on physical beauty alone is a conditional love, she replied. But I do love you, Alice, Manfred declared. To me your beauty is indestructible. No, Manfred, Alice continued. The beauty which made you lose all respect for me is gone, and you're left with nothing. Now go, Manfred. Please go. His eyes open to the enormity of his misconduct. Manfred once again feels alone, without hope. Tormented by shame and remorse, his admiration for Alice even greater, he will sell his soul if only to win her trust and respect once again. Alice returns to work feeling guilty and full of remorse. Had she been too hard on Manfred? She dreads the moment when she must face him again, but Manfred is not there. Alice wonders if he has left for good. Alice cannot bear to think she may be the cause of Manfred's absence. That evening after work she calls at Manfred's home to make amends. As Manfred opens the door, it is plain to Alice that Manfred had learned the error of his ways. Alice explains that her measures, though extreme, were necessary to show Manfred that his lustful advances would not be tolerated. Finally, Alice gives Manfred an empty jar in the hope that it will be filled with a new essence, that of love and respect, and says, "This is for both of us, for all time, to remember the absolute truth of our feelings for each other."